I really wanted to just start by welcoming everyone and thank you all so much for coming out in the middle of your day. And I also want to thank Marla Brown from Gurucollab, who really just started this great idea of asking different individuals to participate and share their, words of wisdom and just to help with passing the time, during the isolation. So thank you very much to Marla, and there'll be a lot more great speakers over the next few weeks along. So I'm looking forward to them as well. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Marsha Fenwick Nutrition, and I started my career in healthcare about 25 years ago, where I started as a respiratory therapist, and I worked in the hospitals in the intensive care with adults on breathing machines and with neonates in the neonatal intensive care. So I've really worked in both the conventional side of healthcare and also in the natural side of healthcare. And really, in my early 40s, myself, I started experiencing some health issues from, I would say, hormones, low energy, some digestive issues. I was someone also who wasn't sleeping well. It was probably a combination of just working shift work in the hospital over all the years and aging as we all are and raising 3 kids. And as a result, some of these health challenges led me back to study nutrition. When I was 47, I went back to school, and now I've been in private practice for about, I'm going into my 9th year. So I have a private practice where I help individuals address different health concerns from weight loss to hormones to digestive health, diabetes, cholesterol, and as well, I'm a cancer coach, so I work with individuals for prevention, cancer support, and recovery. So that's a little bit about myself. I really love what I do, and I really love one-on-one and educating and working with individuals. So today, over the next 30 minutes, what I wanted to do was really, I know many people are struggling with all these new challenges of being in isolation, of overeating, of stress eating, of over drinking, of being home all day with kids that want to be fed. And just we're in a whole new environment, and I guess it's what we call our new norm. So I wanted to start off, before getting into a little bit more nutrition, just some strategies to help us try to take a little bit more control, because we are already into our 4th week. And I'm sure the first few weeks were real chaos for so many of us. We were all over the place and lots of fear. A lot of it is still going on, although hopefully we feel a little bit more in control. But it is really important to start off with some strategies to help us continue to eat better in order to feel better. So that's what I wanted to start with. So a few strategies to begin with. Number 1 is to try to establish a new norm or routine. So that means, when are we going to be eating our meals? I know people are sleeping in. Some people may only be eating 2 meals a day instead of 3 meals a day. But it's really beneficial if we can start trying to find what that new norm is. So if it's breakfast, is it 9 to 10? Is it starting breakfast at 11 to 12? Are we having 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day? But trying to establish that. You can even write it out on a paper so that the family knows sort of the new routine. And within an hour or so, you try to stick with it, because it's trying to establish routine to help us all feel in control. And this is something that we can do. Number 2, if we're working at home, or again, we're moms who are at home, it's trying to find another area to hang out, which isn't always the kitchen. So whether it's your den, whether it's a living room, whether you want to hang out, a little bit more in one of your kids' bedrooms, or you're just meeting, it's just trying not to hang out in the kitchen all the time, because it's hard to resist temptation. And when we're sitting around the kitchen, a lot of times it's not uncommon to try to just, a lot more nushing and grabbing and snacking. So what I'm trying to say is we want to try not to blur our meals and snacking, and when we're hanging out in the kitchen, it's makes it much more accessible. Number 3, normally I like to say it's good to keep food out on the counters, especially to help us prepare ahead. But in this case, really trying to put away, you know, the cakes, the cookies, if that's around, but trying to leave out more healthy snacks. Some ideas are, you know, nuts and seeds. You know, can you leave a veggie tray on the counter in the middle of the afternoon? So trying to think of what's actually out on your counter. So as well, you know, we're not counter surfing like my puppy does all the time. So if we're leaving out the right kind of foods, again, we're less prone to make poor choices and make better choices. And the last 2 points are, number one, rethink your drink. I really like that phrase because, again, I've been speaking to many individuals, and again, without any judgment, you know, there seems to be, you know, more alcohol and different choices of beverages that may not be really optimizing our health. So we want to just start paying more attention to what is that drink that we're grabbing. So again, if you leave out on your counters, what I have is some carafe of water beside my desk or in your kitchen. It's just ready to go, and I like to flavor it up with even cucumber or mint, whatever it is. But let's start rethinking our drink, because it's not just about what we're eating, it's about what we're drinking, because hydration is also key in making good choices. And lastly, which is what's going to lead me into talking about healthy nutrition, is trying to think about what actually a balanced plate looks like. So I really love to try to help individuals take the emphasis away from food as calories, but rather as food as fuel. And I really think that has a lot to do with what we call reframing, again, what food is really all about. And understanding that food really is fuel to help us feel better throughout the day, and has a really big impact on how we feel throughout the day. So, for example, food has a direct impact on our blood sugar. Food has a direct impact on our digestion. Are we experiencing heartburn? Are we having bloating, constipation, indigestion? Food has an impact on our mood. Again, too much sugar, not enough protein. Food has a direct impact on many things, and in particular on our immune system. And again, now is more important a time than ever to start focusing on what our bodies and our immune system need, and that's vitamins, minerals, protein, fats, and fiber that we require and we can get directly from food itself. I wasn't really going to talk about supplements today. As a nutritionist, I'm a real believer that we want to try to get our food as much as possible directly from food itself, even though there is a role for supplements. And our bodies and our immune system require our food now more than ever in order to help us feel better and to have an impact on everything that I had just mentioned, whether we have pre-existing health conditions or whether, again, we just want to get up each day, have good energy, keep our blood sugar stable, try to stay in best moods as possible. So food really is fuel, and if we can reframe food from calories, it's really a healthy way to help us move forward, especially through these challenging times. So really the question is, how do we get started? And really the answer is one meal at a time. And rather than focusing on the whole week or even the whole day, we want to just start focusing on one meal, as well as hydration, which I'm going to get to as well. And as I mentioned before, everyone's on different schedules. Some people are only eating 2 meals a day. Some people are still doing 3 meals a day. But we really want to make sure that that first meal, whatever time it is, even some people are doing intermittent fasting, we want to make sure that that first meal is what we call nutrient dense. Nutrient density is a term that really just means we're incorporating the right kind of food quality on our plate. Some examples of that would be healthy protein, healthy fiber, which comes from fruit and vegetables, some complex carbs, and some healthy fats. And research is showing that if we eat a breakfast in the morning, even if it's a little bit later in the day, it doesn't have to be at 9 or 10, what it does is help reduce eating in the nighttime, and it also helps reduce snacking. So it's really, really important to start our day off right. and making the right choices. My focus is to really help people with the word simplicity, with nutrient density, and with planning ahead. So what I wanted to do was try to show you a few examples of some healthy breakfasts. They actually could be for other meals as well that can help you get started during the day. So far, how's the information coming out? Everyone can hear it? Clear? Okay, great. So I have a few favorite meals that I like to start the day with that, again, are nutrient dense and also fairly simple to make. One of my favorite ones, I'm going to show you, hopefully you can see these, and this is called basically a simple lettuce wrap. So the goal is to try to pick as much whole, fresh food as possible. I know it's difficult now because we're not going out grocery shopping, hopefully more than once or twice a week. But a lot of what I'm going to show you as well can be made from fresh and frozen vegetables, as well from a lot of canned goods. But just bear with me because we still want to have some basics in our house. And this is basically called a lettuce wrap. And what I've taken is just a big piece of romaine lettuce. I had some leftovers from the Seder. I put a portion of protein, which for me was some smoked salmon. It could be some chopped egg. It could be some tuna. It could be some turkey. And then I just put on some chopped vegetables. So I have some carrots, celery, and peppers. And then you can always put a smear of avocado, of hummus, something that is, again, that's appealing to you. But this is a meal that, again, really takes about 3 minutes to make, and it's got the right nutrients to keep us full with fiber, with protein, with fats, and again, satiated, as well as keeping our blood sugar steady through the day. So these are basically lettuce wraps. There's many variations. You know, I want you to choose what you would enjoy, but this is an example of getting started. Another example of what I also really enjoy, and we already had a few of these today, are egg frittatas or egg muffins. By the way, I have recipes for all of these, and if you want to shoot me an email at the end, I'm happy to send them out. You know, I use these for many of my clients. So these are called egg frittatas. Again, very, very simple. I like this silicone muffin tray as a little tip if any of you have, or again, when we eventually do some more shopping, or you can order online, because these muffins don't stick. So number one, they're great for any kind of muffin, but it's a silicone tray. Basically, all I did was chop a few vegetables of choice, whatever you like, into the little containers. Then I mixed 6 eggs separately with a little salt and pepper, and then I poured the egg batter into the little muffin trays and baked for 15 minutes. And again, you can have 2 or 3 of these for an actual breakfast. Again, very nutrient dense, the right protein, the right fiber, lots of good antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. So again, quick and easy, just a little bit of preparation for groceries, but it's really a 20-minute prep. They're also even great just if you want to grab one for a snack. And lastly, just because there's lots to talk about in the next 15 minutes, I always like what's called a smoothie, which can also be made into a smoothie bowl, because many individuals don't like to drink, I hear, a meal. They like to eat a meal. But again, the premise is this is something that can be made from fresh fruits and vegetables. You do not need fresh produce. So I like to incorporate some healthy fruits, which here I have some wild blueberries. You can use any frozen berries of choice. And then in order to balance our sugar in our smoothie, we want to add in some greens, which again, a lot of individuals are making smoothies, but they may not be the right complement of ingredients that are ideal, again, for blood sugar balance, for depending what your health concerns are, or you may have none at all. But again, we want to put the right ingredients in our meals. So then after the fruits, I add in some healthy greens, which could be frozen kale, frozen spinach. Then I like to choose a healthy fat, which here is some avocado, or if you like something like a nut butter. And then on top of that, we essentially need some protein of choice. So you could either do a protein powder if you have. You could do some hemp hearts. Does everybody know what hemp hearts are? Again, something very easily accessible in grocery stores. Or again, we can do some chia seeds, which again is fiber and protein. So really, it's learning how to blend a combination of whole food, real ingredients into your smoothie. And then at the end, you just add your liquid of choice, which can be water, could be coconut water, could be dairy, it could be an almond milk. And you blend it to the texture that you like. And then again, it's something great that you can sip on through the day. You know, most people don't just drink their smoothie in 10 minutes. It's something I find that's great to have with you. You can carry it around. And again, it's very, very nutritious. It's just finding the right blend of ingredients that you like. If you're someone that doesn't like to drink their smoothie, all you need to do to make this more of a smoothie bowl is just change up a few of the ingredients, add less liquid. Generally, you need a little bit of a banana or something to just make it a little bit with more texture. But there's a lot of different ways to get, again, real food into your first meal to just really start your day well. So those are a few ingredients, a few recipes. I'm not really going to get into the chia pod or overnight oats, but again, if you'd like the recipe, I'm happy to send it. We're just short on time. But again, oats, steel cut oats, rolled oats, all of those are great options that you can make ahead. You can make a big bowl up for your whole family. I like to make a big container. And then we just grab it as we want and eat it, warm it up. But again, nutrient-dense choices, filling, a good source of protein, fiber, and fat. Okay, so now that we've had our first meal of the day, what I also really want to emphasize is that hydration is key. And the reason why we want to stay hydrated, which is often overlooked, is that when we hydrate ourselves properly, what we do is regulate our body temperature through the day, which is very important. When we're hydrated, it helps remove waste and toxins. So again, people who, for example, if we're having any digestive issues or problems with our bowels, or we're not going frequently enough, drinking water has a big impact on removing waste, as well as what we call lubrication. So drinking water is essential on top of movement if you're finding, for example, maybe you're not going to the bathroom as often as you like to. And as well, drinking water has a big impact on energy. For some people, you know, if you're experiencing more headaches or stress. But our body and blood is made of, our cells are made of water. And I can't emphasize how crucial it is. It all depends on your starting point, whether you're drinking 1 or 2 glasses. But I always say, just start with trying to double it, right? The goal is 2 to 3 liters, or even looking when you go to the bathroom, the color of your urine. Is it concentrated? Is it bright yellow? Is it light yellow? There's not a magic number. It's 2 to 3 liters. Everybody's different, and we're all at different starting points. So wherever you are, again, try to make your bottle, you know, your new best friend, and try to just start drinking more, because hydration is key. Many of us enjoy coffee and tea. I'm one who loves coffee. No issues with that at all. One of my new strategies for many is, before you have that big cup of coffee or that big cup of tea, start off with a big glass of water. That's just, again, a habit. So before I pour my coffee or tea, I make sure I really try to get a big glass of water in. You can have it warm. You can have it with some lemon. You can even have it, some people like to do a little bit of chia seeds in because it keeps them full. There's so many different ways of adding hydration into your diet, but just try to think to yourself in the morning, before that first cup of caffeine or others, is that you started your day off with water. So I'm a big proponent of getting water in during the day. Some other good options are herbal coffee, herbal teas, green tea and white tea. They're both very, very high in antioxidants. So those are actually very good choices. They also don't affect your adrenals and your cortisol levels as much, because it's a different kind of caffeine and Boost. So those are good choices if you happen to be a tea drinker. I happen to like coffee. So after my first big coffee, if I feel like something in the afternoon, I like this good coffee substitute called Dandy Blend. And again, there's no caffeine in it. It's a great substitute. It actually does taste decent. I've been drinking it, and it's a great source of dandelion and chicory root. And it's sort of like a Nescafe. You just take a teaspoon, you put it in a cup of water, put in your cinnamon or however you like it. But again, we want to try to reduce our caffeine intake during times of stress, because again, for many people, too much caffeine, again, affects our hormones, our cortisol, makes it difficult to sleep, which I know even myself, I'm already struggling with. So I'm really trying to avoid caffeine in the afternoon, and there's lots of good options. And my last, one of my favorite options, because I've always been a sweet person and a chocolate eater, this is a great option if you like hot chocolate. It's called Rishi hot chocolate. Generally, a lot of hot chocolate, even for, if you're feeding kids, it's loaded with about 20 grams of sugar. This has no sugar at all. It's a great substitute. There's a lot of great choices out in the stores. I know we can't shop as much as well, but I just want to bring awareness that there's lots of great substitutes if you're someone who likes caffeine or sweets or coffee. And what I forgot to mention, and many of you who knew me many years ago, one of the things that happened when I worked in the hospital was I was constantly eating out of the vending machines and chocolate bars and chocolate milks, and I really was overeating sugar. And that was one of the things that I really learned to change, is that you can have your sweets and eat it too. It's just trying to understand your better options. And my husband had bought this for me. It says, "Oh, Marsha," instead of "Oh, Henry," because this used to be me before I went back to school to study nutrition. I really was someone who was living off a lot of chocolate bars. And really, it's just understanding and learning new substitutes, because there's a whole world of good food out there. And I just really want to, empower everyone that there's so many changes that can be made, but really not to be overwhelmed, because it's just one meal at a time. So if we can think about it in that frame of reference, that's really important. And lastly, for the last 5 minutes before questions, I just wanted to focus a little bit more on snacking, because, sorry, I forgot alcohol. How many people want to talk about that for a minute or two? Okay, so it's again, it's an area where, there's a lot of, a lot of people are saying this is, what they're going to a little bit more than usual. I think what's important to understand is it's always about moderation and portion size. So for example, in our house, my daughter may go for this size glass, and I might go for this size glass. And I'm just trying to play light on it all, because it's really about awareness and trying to figure out what works best for you. But I feel it's important as a cancer coach just to bring up the fact that really the guidelines from the Canadian Cancer Society is for women it's 4 to 5 glasses of alcohol a week. And I'm concerned in general that we just look at it from our health perspective, that I understand people enjoy it, but again, trying to keep it in perspective. If you like wine, can you go to a wine spritzer? That might be less. Can you go to a Prosecco? Can you go to a carbonated form of something different? Just try to keep in mind, portion sizes with either a smaller glass, like I'm trying to do. Can you try to reframe it more to maybe Thursday to Sunday and not every night? It's really just trying to find what's going to work for you, as we go through these challenging times. But the good news is red wine does have antioxidants. So if you happen to like red wine, it's one of the better choices. I never encourage drinking, but again, it's just some tips to hopefully help with just to try to start changing it up a little bit. And lastly, when it comes to snacks, Again, I have a whole sheet of healthy snacking, and if you would like that, I'm happy to share it with you. I think what's important, again, is to try to think of snacks as something as not 3-4 times a day, but again, focusing on nutrient-dense meal with a snack during the day. For kids, it's different. Their metabolism is really high. You know, it's really hard to keep them distracted. But again, I think as for most of us women and adults, we really have to be cognizant that unless we're doing a lot more exercise during this time period, our metabolism is probably slowing. And we need to, you know, if possible, try to reduce a little bit. So if you're doing 2 meals a day, then maybe perhaps, you know, a snack in the middle of the day and a little bit something after dinner, although I really promote not eating after dinner. But if you can get your 3 meals in the day, then again, a late afternoon snack is obviously a great choice. It's just we don't want to be grazing throughout the day, which I've been seeing with many individuals, because unfortunately the science has misled us about snacking is good. And really we want to leave time periods where we can, what we call, reduce our insulin levels, and increase our insulin sensitivity, so that we can, number one, get healthier and reduce inflammation. And if we eat every 2 hours with snacks, what we're doing is increasing potentially our insulin level. And again, we want to try to space things out. So that's just a little bit of information on snacking. Obviously, healthier choices are things like veggies and dips, whole foods, snacks, trying to pair a protein with a carb, or a protein and a fat. So an almond butter with some celery, almond butter with an apple, you know, grab a hard-boiled egg, veggies and dips. I have recipes for homemade protein bars. Lots of different things. If you like salty foods, olives, pickles, kale chips, lots of great options. But again, trying to think of the word nutrient density as to what we're putting on our plate, because it has a very big impact on how we feel throughout the day. So I have lots of information that I still want to continue with. So I will be speaking the next 2 Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. I want to thank Rosanna, because I asked her ahead of time what might be helpful, what are people struggling with. I want to thank Renee, because she's always there supporting me and introduced me to Marla. And it's just lovely to meet everybody. And really, and Rose too, it's an honor for me that you're present, because again, I have your cookbooks, and I'm just thrilled. So thank you everybody for joining. I see some of my former clients are on as well. So I have a newsletter if you want to get on that. And I'm just going to open it up now for the next 10 minutes or so if you have some questions. Okay. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for doing this. Quick question about portion of protein. How many grams of protein should be in your portion per meal?
Great question. I generally say about 4 to 5 ounces of protein per meal. It's a little bit on the lower side for some people. It again depends on your, goals, or if you have health concerns. But I think that's generally a healthy portion, because my goal is to try to get individuals to fill up more with vegetables and other healthy nutrients. So if we can keep to 4 to 5 ounces, it's a good amount.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that is Myra.
Hi there. Nice to meet you, and thank you so much. It was really helpful. I just have a quick question, because you held up Dandy Blend, and I was smiling because I'm obsessed with Dandy Blend. And I've heard that you can drink too much of it. Like, you have to be really careful because it's like a type of herb that you can overdo. And I don't really trust the internet on this one, so.
It's a good point. So again, because it has some different ingredients in it, it's the dandelion root that sometimes there's concern about. Again, just because it's a little bit of an herb, but generally 1 glass is 1 teaspoon. I'm not sure how much you're putting in. So 2 teaspoons a day would be fine. I wouldn't be, having 5. But again, two of these 2 teaspoons and 2 separate is totally acceptable. I wouldn't be concerned beyond that.
Do you have any quick immune boosting ideas?
Okay, and that's a really good question, and that's a huge topic, which I was thinking of probably focusing more on next time. So I think what's really important to understand the word immune boosting, and I don't know if you're following I'm very much involved in the medical community. So it's really important to look at where the science is at. I'm very much about the evidence-based information. So it's not that boost is a bad word, but essentially we cannot prevent ourselves from getting the virus because food will not prevent it. But the point is it can support our immune system. So having asked that question, which is a good question and which is what I wanted to also talk about, is there are certain nutrients specifically that we know can support your diet. Having said that, eating good protein, eating what I keep referring to fruits and vegetables, eating healthy fats, those have the components of what is in immune supporting foods. But in specific to your question, which again, I can't get into next time, we know that foods with vitamin C, so that's a lot of fruits and vegetables. We know foods that have zinc in it is also very important, so that's like mushrooms, eggs, oysters. We know that we want to get extra vitamin D in, which again is generally something you need to supplement. We do get it from sunshine, but also eggs have it a little bit. We also want to get foods that are high in vitamin C and vitamin E. So vitamin A, C, and E, which are antioxidants, vitamin D, zinc, those are, again, some of what we call immune supporting foods. And again, there's different specifics within each category, which again, I can spend more time on next week, but I wanted to, I guess, start with strategies to help you just feel that you can take control, how you should start your day. And again, if you keep referring back to nutrient density and picking the choices from protein, fresh fruits or frozen vegetables, and healthy fats, you will be incorporating a lot of these specific immune supporting foods. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
You know, and everyone digests foods differently, so it's not always that simple. One other point I should put in, because I am a real proponent, is if we can incorporate more plant-based eating. If we eat more plant-based foods, specifically with what I told you about, specifically what's in your smoothie, that's where you will already automatically be getting these right kind of nutrients. So again, you know, I'm not saying don't eat a piece of meat, but again, you know, more plant-based foods like the grains, which I'm going to talk into more meals and ideas next time. That's a great question.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Rosanna.
Hi, Marsha. I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you. You're amazing. I do have to go, but I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the next time.
Thanks so much, and thanks for coming. Appreciate it. I think everyone has my email. If you want some of the recipes or any, you know, questions, feel free to send me an email. And I don't know if any of you are going to be on Gurucollab. We all have to support each other, and I hope to see you again next Tuesday.
Thank you, Marsha.
Thanks a lot.
That's awesome. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.